All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Gervonta Tank Davis telling the rest of the lightweights what's happening, and he will be the last man standing after all of the smoke clears. Let's talk about what we think that means as it relates to Gerorge Kambosos and Devin Haney in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We're going to be on the lightweight division in this conversation. Teofimo Lopez, not Teofimo Lopez, late in the day, Gervonta Tank Davis took to Twitter to put out a cryptic message like he does a lot of times, which said, when all of the smoke clears, I'm going to be there. And that is clearly directed at the rest of the lightweight division and all of the smoke that is going on and hubbub about who is going to fight who. And in this division that is probably the second hottest or maybe the hottest division in boxing. Before I get into that, though, please make sure if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and hit all notifications so you can know when we're going to release more videos. And also hit that like button before you leave the door. So, yeah, boxing is very, very frustrating, but it's from somebody that has been watching boxing for a very long time. Let me tell you, it ain't getting any less frustrating anytime soon, and it's been frustrating for a while. Trying to get the fights that we all want to get in the weight classes that we want to get, them in. It's been going on for a real long time, since the 1980s. You know, people were looking for Sugar Ray Leonard to fight Marvelous Marvin Hagler. That got pushed off, right? We're looking for fights in the 90s with Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis. You know, that fight never happened. A lot of fights, you know, Edwin Valario was a guy that they wanted to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr. You know, that fight went south. Whole lot of fights that we want to see in boxing never materialize, and that frustration has been there, as far as I can see it, for a very long time. Now, there's been certain divisions and certain time frames where we got more of the fights that we really want to see than we may be getting now. But what we're going through in the lightweight division, I don't think is anything that is terribly unusual for the last, for the last 20 years. So we wind up, talking about what's going on and trying to wish our way into these fights. However, I do not think, and maybe this is me being the optimist, I do not think that that is the case in the lightweight division. I think in this lightweight division, we are going to get the fights that we want to see. Gervonta Tank Davis, when he says, when all of the smoke clears, I'm going to be there, is clearly talking about the development of the fights going on at 135 pounds. You have Gerorge Kambosos there, who is the 135-pound champion, who is and holds belts in all four major sanctioning bodies. You have Devin Haney, who holds a belt in the WBC, and then you have Gervonta Tank Davis, who holds a belt in the WBA. Gervonta Tank Davis is ordered to fight Rolly Romero in his next fight to unify the WBA regular title and the WBA interim title. Gerorge Kambosos does not have a mandatory, and he right now is in a situation where he is either going to fight Vasily Lomachenko or he's going to fight Devin Haney. It is not clear which one is going to be, or whether he very well may take a fight in the interim, in Australia, which is probably the most likely, is that he will fight some guy that we don't know in Australia and defend those belts one time before he actually fights Haney or he fights Vasily Lomachenko. If he takes that one fight and does not fight Haney immediately, my bet is that what he's going to wind up doing is fighting Vasily Lomachenko. If he fights Vasily Lomachenko, I'm telling you right now that there is a good chance that Gervonta Davis will be the last man standing, because after that mandatory is held, for the WBO, the WBA is still in the midst of consolidating their belts. And if you don't recall what that is about, the WBA is ordering fights to take place between their interim champions, their their regular champions, and their WBA and the WBA super champion to minimize the number of belts that they have in boxing. They were ordered to do so by the Association of Boxing Commissions, and if they do not do that, they risk being able to put on fights in the United States. So they are getting ready and clearing the decks on a lot of these fights. And with Gervonta Davis there holding that WBA regular belt, after the smoke clears, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, and George Kambosos smoke clears, that fight more than likely is going to be ordered for the WBA regular and the WBA super to consolidate those belts. And after all of that stuff is done, more than likely, there's going to be enough money at that point in time in that fight to make an undisputed fight and have Gervonta Davis fight for undisputed championship on what would more than likely be a very, very big pay-per-view. Gervonta Tank Davis himself does not seem as if he is really interested in the unification of all the belts, but he did say that he wanted to fight George Kambosos. He's been a lot of rumblings have gone on about him wanting to fight Vasily Lomachenko. That Vasily Lomachenko fight against Gervonta Tank Davis, I really and truly believe can push up on 1 million pay-per-views, provided Gervonta Tank Davis keeps having exciting fights and his pay-per-view numbers keep going. Gervonta Davis right now can probably do 250,000 pay-per-views. I would suspect if Vasily Lomachenko and he got together, that would magnify that, because there would be so many people interested in seeing Gervonta Tank Davis getting beat. So when Gervonta Davis says, I'm going to be here when all the smoke clears, I think that there's a clear path to that. And him taunting guys in lightweight and saying that will be the case, I think actually has some merit to it. Not just because I believe that Gervonta Davis really does want to fight these guys, but I also believe that the money will be there and that the circumstance will be there when all of that stuff pans itself out. And also that Gervonta Davis, with the exception of maybe obviously that you got some other horses in the race that may come into it if Shakur Stevenson comes up and fights Vasily Lomachenko like he said he wants to. That may put a wrinkle in that Lomachenko dynamic, but I think Gervonta Davis very well may be the best dude at lightweight, and also he doesn't have anywhere to go after lightweight. He's not going to move up into 140 pounds. He's not going to go down to 130 pounds. He is pretty much locked there at 135 pounds, and eventually he's going to have to fight those champions, and those fights are definitely going to get made. I have a hard time believing that he is going to coast through his entire career at lightweight and never fight for any of those other major championship belts. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that will say that based on the way that his career is gone, that he's protected. He's always fighting flat-footed fighters that are with Latino last names and all of that stuff. Yeah, I'm sure that does play a role, that has definitely been the truth to a certain degree when he was coming from 130 up into 135, and then when he fights Mario Barrios at 140. But, time, you at a certain point in time, you run out of options for the people in the PBC that may want to continue that route. I don't believe Gervonta Davis wants to continue that route, and I believe that he will fight the Lomachenko and he will fight or Kambosos. Now, personally, I don't think it's going to be Kambosos, because I don't think Kambosos is going to run through that. I don't think he's going to make it through that gauntlet. I don't think he's going to make it through a fight with Vasily Lomachenko. I don't think he's going to make it through a fight with Devin Haney. If Shakur moves up and beats Vasily Lomachenko, I know he ain't getting past Shakur Stevenson. But Gervonta Davis more than likely will be there, and he will beat all these other dudes. Only guy I think that Gervonta Davis may run into that could give him some trouble in the meantime, maybe Michelle Rivera, that the lightweight, the Dominican lightweight, who's on the come up, and for Showtime. If for some reason he matures and gets in that fight, maybe he may be able to give Gervonta Davis some problems. But at the end of the day, man, I got faith that this stuff is going to happen. But me, I'm an optimistic boxing fan, and but it's going to be what it is. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.